Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well. Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast Channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Bi-Weekly Report with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune into our other content as well.
I think we are. It should be fine. I mean, like,
You're gonna go like
better than a funeral.
Halloween.
That's a good point. Have some fun with that.
Well, let's try this again. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's, okay.
Welcome to the Exeter Planning Board meeting of Thursday, July 10th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the Nowak Room of the Town Office Building located at 10 Front Street, Exeter, New Hampshire, to consider the following. Before we do that, we'll introduce the members of the board. I'm Langdon Plummer. I'm chair of the board, and my vice chair is
Aaron Brown.
Gwen English?
Nancy Belanger, Select Board Representative.
and my clerk.
John Gruder.
Marty Kennedy. Sam McLeod.
Marty and Sam are alternates, but they are sitting in this evening, and I'm telling them that they're going to be acting this evening.
It's not for you.
It's not for you,
It's for the television. We'll try to be louder so you can hear us, though. Yeah. Yeah, these aren't, the local stuff isn't working, so.
Two of our regular members are absent this evening, so I'm appointing the two alternates to act on this case this evening. First, we're going to deal with the minutes of June 26, 2025. And would ask if anyone has any corrections or suggestions, errors?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Bruce Scammon, he spells his last name Scamman, not O-N.
Mm-hmm.
So that needs to be changed. There are a few places where his name is called out. So I think it's 34, 40, 57, 60. And then on line 42, I don't know that this needs to be capitalized, but waterworks, probably those should be capitalized.
Okay,
That's all I had. Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? Somebody like to make a motion to accept this?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of June 25th.
26.
26, 2025.
As amended? And I'll
As
second.
As amended.
And I'll
Okay.
second.
Voice vote is okay. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays? Oppositions? And so it carries. Thank you very much.
Waterworks is capital. Monopoly.
Yeah.
So it should be in our minutes.
Next, the application of J. Cayley Associates for the site plan review of the shoreland condition use permit for the purpose of redevelopment of the property at 97 Portsmouth Avenue. The developer is proposing to demolish the existing Blue Ribbon Dry Cleaners building. It's a piece of history. It's the 50s and 60s. I don't know what people thought of it when it was built, but it's a beautiful example of that. So I hope that the Historical Society gets a little information on it.
And it's the first dry cleaner in the state of New Hampshire.
Seriously?
Well, they started off on Newfield
Oh my
Road.
gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
in that building.
Okay, so, little background there.
No.
Let's see, the developers propose, I said that, excuse the interruption, a building on the site and construct a multi-use building to include commercial space, amenities, and 14 residential units with parking and associated site improvements. The property is located in the C2 Highway Commercial Zoning District and is identified as tax map parcel number 65-125 and is planning case number 25-3. We need to take action to open this case, and I believe that our town planner, Dave Sharples, has indicated that he feels that it's ready to be heard. So I'd ask for a motion to accept this application, and so we can proceed.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Voice vote again. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Okay, I'd ask, Dave has provided us with a overview, as he has always done, so, did you have a copy of that?
I do. I received that this morning.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask our vice chair if he would read Dave's comments, and then we will move ahead from there. Aaron?
Yeah, this is the memo we typically get from Dave Sharples. He prepared that for our planning board, and he generally would read this at our meetings, but I will do that tonight. The applicant has submitted site plan review and shoreline conditional use permit, CUP, applications for the proposed redevelopment of the property at 97 Portsmouth Ave. The developer is proposing to demolish the existing Blue Ribbon dry cleaning building on the site and construct a multi-use building to include commercial space, amenities, and 14 residential units with parking and associated site improvements. The property is located in the C2 Highway Commercial Zoning District and is identified as tax map parcel number 65-125. The applicant submitted applications, plans, and supporting documents dated April 29, 2025 for review. A technical review committee TRC meeting was conducted on May 22, 2025, and it was determined that the zoning relief, a second TRC meeting, and more details on required components of the plans would be required for the application to be considered complete. Given the changes likely, a detailed review was not conducted. TRC comments from town departments were to be provided upon resubmittal and a second TRC meeting. The applicant submitted revised plans and supporting documents dated 6/9/2025, and a second TRC meeting was held on 6/18/2025. A copy of the UEI comment letter dated 6/23/25 is enclosed for your review. Written town department's comments were not provided. Subsequently, the applicant has provided revised plans and supporting documents dated 6/24/25, addressing those comments discussed at the TRC meeting and the most recent comments provided by UE. These materials are enclosed for your review. Please note that the abutter list for this project was revised by the town to include adjacent property owners, REL Commons and McLean Manor Condo Association. See abutter list with handwritten additions. These properties are not considered direct abutters for the purpose of notification, but the property owners have expressed concerns regarding their property being directly affected by the proposed development under consideration and have asked to be notified of upcoming meetings. The applicant is requesting 2 waivers from the board's site plan review and subdivision regulations as outlined in the waiver letters from Beals Associates, PLLC, dated June 24, 2025. The applicant is scheduled to present their shoreline conditional use permit application to the Conservation Commission at the July 8, 2025 meeting. The board will be updated with their recommendations at the meeting. At a minimum, I would suggest that the planning board consider a vote on accepting the plans as complete for review purposes, and if deemed complete, holding the public hearing to get input from the public and consider scheduling a site walk. Conditions of the approval will be provided at the meeting should the board decide to forego a site walk. That's it.
Thank you. Kirsten, the floor is yours.
Yes, excuse me. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Again, my name is Christian Smith, engineer with Beals Associates, representing the applicant on the project tonight. Jeff Cayley, the proponent and developer for the project, is in the audience with us as well. And I will give you just a brief overview. Dave covered the chronology of how this application has gone forward. And I'll just reiterate, we have met with the Zoning Board of Adjustment and got a variance and a special exception, which likely are no longer necessary because one of those was for building height, and the MUND zoning under which this application's coming in provides for a 50-foot high building. So, that worked out perfectly well. Mr. Cayley, at the time we were going through there, was contemplating a micro hotel and has made a change in favor of the MUND, proposing 14 residential units, approximately 1,500 square feet of commercial / retail or potentially a coffee shop space in the first floor of the proposed building, as well as the small three-season outbuilding, which is, I think if you look at the architect's plans that were provided, that is essentially going to be a glass enclosure. We'll likely have a sink. There won't be bathrooms out there, 5 or 6 seats at a bar kind of thing for people to grab a quick coffee as they see fit. And with regard to the site design, we provide, is that not working? Oh, there it is. We provide 14 parking spaces in the rear of the building, or what would be the southwest of the building. That covers the MUND requirements for parking for the residential units. Because a portion of this paved parking area drains in the direction of the reservoir, you can see the lighter shaded gray is actually pervious pavement that collects the stormwater from that location. In addition to that, we're proposing pervious paver patios in that location right in front of the building, and in that location just behind the espresso bar, the proposed espresso bar. The building roof drains will be piped through downspouts into the filter media of the pervious pavement, the pervious pavers, where that will be receiving stormwater treatment. All 3 of those locations can handle the 50-year frequency storm without coming close to overtopping. So there is no provided outlet. The intention is that the water will simply be infiltrated back into the groundwater matrix. An additional 6 stalls is provided at that location, which would serve the commercial use, the coffee shop, if that's what it ends up being, that type of thing. And as you can see by the parking calculations, through the straight letter of the ordinance, we are required, if he goes with an actual restaurant or a coffee shop, the calculations come out to a requirement for 24 spaces. We're providing 19 on site, and the intention is, so going back to the original subdivision of these lots, which at one point included Prov Bank and included the Margaritas Plaza, there was blanket access, egress, and parking easements across all of the properties. So our thought process was, well, then if there ever is a point in time where all of those stalls are full, the very likely place to park would be these stalls, which are normally vacant. I'm a resident in town, I think most of you know that, out behind the Prov Bank. And I know we have some gentlemen in the audience with us tonight who are going to speak against that, but we'll let that come as it may. And we are providing a great deal more green space, which you can see shows up on this this photo in a bit of a lime green color. But all of that grassed area, the only place that really had any vegetated area was up front and way in the back by the back property line, which abuts the municipal property. So that, by and large, that is the proposal. We think we're improving the property certainly over what the view shed is from Portsmouth Avenue at this point, and we feel that it's a very reasonable proposal. And I guess I should point out at this time that if he chooses to go with straight retail within the building as opposed to a coffee shop or something, we tried to do the parking calculations based on a worst-case scenario. In that scenario, they would only be required 1 per 300 square feet of the commercial or retail area. And we can accommodate that because that only requires 5 additional stalls over the residential, and we're proposing 6. Again, tried to do the parking calculations looking at a worst-case scenario, and under that scenario, we technically on-lot, fall 5 short, because that then would require, estimating 30 seats, would require 10 stalls. There's 1 per 3 with a restaurant type of a situation. So with that, I'll absolutely. Oh, and I guess I should point out we did meet with the Conservation Commission. I think you have the memo from that board in your packet. They voted as they do when they are not opposed, not to contest or oppose the project, with 2 small conditions. One would be that the soils located around and under the existing building tested for contamination after the building is taken down, and that the monitoring well is decommissioned and reconstructed after the construction is done. And I want to let the board know that Mr. Cayley has been in contact with NHDES on that second matter, and on the first, and has actually contracted the consultant who does the monitoring and testing work for the state to be on site to tell us what is the appropriate way to handle the wells, what is the appropriate testing for the soils as required by the Conservation Commission. So we've got that well in hand, and Mr. Cayley had already done a lot of that legwork up front. And with that, I'll address any questions that you folks may have.
Thank you. Any quick questions the board has?
I just have a real quick one. Just
Sure.
I missed when you were talking about the pervious pavement. Is the light gray in the parking lot
Can you use the
to the
microphone?
right? Oh, I'm sorry.
Please, thank you.
I heard you, Gwen, you are
Okay.
correct.
I want to make sure folks at home.
I heard the other parts. I heard where the other
The
ones are,
pavers.
but it's just that one light
That one,
gray.
right, covering, looks like 4 stalls.
And
Yep.
can you explain why it's just that?
Yeah, simply because that is the direction of water flow, and I mean, obviously, that parking lot is very shallow in the back. I'm not sure if you've been out behind there, but that portion of the lot is very flat. But that section does drain in that direction if you have a heavy storm event, so we put it there specifically to collect the runoff from that pavement.
Okay.
And it being the whole point of putting them just in the actual parking bays is that the big complaint people get with pervious pavement is that the vehicles turning on it tend to make the aggregate spall out and causes more degradation. So we felt that that was a reasonable approach. And, as I say, the underlying support, well, I guess you could call it the cross-section of what holds that porous pavement up, and then the stone reservoir at the very bottom of it can handle all of the flow that's headed in that direction, and it does not overtop under the 50-year storm event, which, based on the fact that we are in the coastal zone as delineated by NHDES, we have to add an actual 15% over the extreme precipitation numbers we get from Cornell University, and we're talking about almost 9 inches of rain on a 50-year storm.
Okay. Is the drainage the reason that you put the dumpster where it is? Or was the dumpster there for another reason?
The dumpster's there because it appears to be an easy access for whomever's going to be,
Okay.
contracted to come pick it up. But that is also the higher side of the parking lot.
Okay. All right.
Can I just follow up on that? The parking lot behind, I'm sorry. The parking lot behind the new building is now an old parking lot. And then the it transitions into a nicer looking parking lot. I'm assuming that's the bank's part of it.
I would assume you're right.
Anything to separate those two parking lots?
I'm sorry?
Anything that's going to separate those two parking lots?
Well, you can see at this point, there is a vegetated island here. That is a landscape island, which I believe is just grass at this point. So the traffic flow you can see coming around the bank, those are actual markings on the ground. The ones up front are proposed, but the travel flow or traffic flow comes in this way, and of course there's no divider between those stalls. You can enter it from either side. But that breaks up the parking between the two properties, if that's your question, Mr.
But
Gruder.
you drive through their parking lot to get to yours.
Correct.
And drive out in between the two buildings, because you can't go the other direction, although there is a connection road to the condos, right?
As there is now, yeah, to both properties.
And
So are
it's just a
those,
very awkward in and out.
I mean, it's almost identical to what's there now, what has been used there for decades.
Well, parking, and now if you go in the cleaner, you're parking in front of the building.
What's that?
I said
John, we
now-
can't hear you.
I'm sorry, now if you go to the cleaner, you're parking in front of the building.
Yes, there
Not
are
in the back of
spaces
the
out
building,
back.
So, but there's
They
spaces.
just don't get
back-
utilized a great deal.
Right, so it's
Yeah.
really not the same as it's been for decades.
I just meant the access and the egress.
That's it for now.
are those spaces in back going to be marked?
Oh, yes,
Residence
everything
parking?
will be painted.
And are those going to be apartments or condominiums?
I believe those are going to be condominiums?
Yeah, kind of.
Yes,
Okay.
condominiums,
No, the condominium association,
correct.
okay?
You seeing the gray area there to the right, that's owned by who? That
Hold on.
light gray area, that's owned by who?
This is a member of the public speaking
Yeah,
right
we're
now.
not,
We just
we're
haven't
not
opened
open to
the
the public
public.
yet.
I can't say it.
You
Not
can,
yet.
just
Yeah.
wait,
We
hold
will
on,
have
be
an
able
opportunity,
to.
sir, yeah.
hold the thought.
Any other, well, let me
Well, I'll
open,
have another question.
Oh, go ahead.
I didn't know. The building itself, there's a door front and back.
Correct.
The building itself has a door on the front and the back.
Correct.
It doesn't really show it, and it's hard to tell from the pictures. Showing the front of the building, it looks like.
Yeah, there's access,
Storefront,
Mr.
it
Gruder,
doesn't
from
look
the pervious paver patio in the front. And then again, you can see the sidewalk that runs around the back of it. There are entrances at both those locations.
All right, that's fine. Thank you.
anything else? Well, then let's open the public. Sir, could you step, there's a microphone on the table. But I'd like to have the other gentleman speak first, because he had a question.
Gentleman who spoke out of order.
Yeah,
That's okay, come to the mic.
just come to the mic,
Just gotta
please.
come to the mic.
That's good.
You gotta come to the mic, sir.
So you go to the mic and then you just introduce your
Just
new
the
name.
process we use.
And please
Yeah.
please
All right.
introduce
I'm Michael
yourself.
Mayer, I live at McLean Manor, I'm an owner there. I was just wondering who that gray area, who that's owned by.
Which gray area?
That gray area he was speaking of to the right of, I mean, as you look
You
at it.
can go up and point at it if that
The
helps.
big
Go ahead.
parking.
You need that again.
That's it.
That whole area, that's all I was wondering.
Okay.
Is who that was owned by. That's all I was asking.
I would assume it'll end up being owned by the condominium association,
Okay, that's all I was wondering.
That's okay.
kind of further subset. Yes, sir.
My name is Scott Anders. I'm here on behalf of Chris Hilson of DTC Lawyers. Mr. Hilson wanted to be here. His father passed away about noon today, and so he had to hustle out. He submitted a letter. I don't know if that letter has made it to the file yet. It looks like I'm getting nods, yes. He did want to be able to address this.
From Upton and Hatfield?
No.
No.
No, from DTC Lawyers.
Okay.
You got it.
We got it, yes, okay.
So he wanted to be able to appear and actually speak to
Certainly.
the board. Obviously, with a couple hours of preparation, I'm barely an adequate stand-in at this point. But I would like to, I would request that any decision, anything like that, be put off until the August meeting because, Mr. Hilson obviously has the body of knowledge for his clients, REL Commons. And so, much as I can sit here and answer questions and I can point to things in his letter, he really has the knowledge and the would like to speak to this board. So if I could, my request would be that the board hold off on any decision until he's able to return, which would be the next meeting, which will be the August meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. You know the routine.
You gotta speak up, you're gonna get yelled at.
Yeah, right.
Right. All right, I'll do my best. Are people hearing me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Gary Daddario. I am an attorney with Marcus, Rico, Emmer, and Brooks, and I represent McLean Manor condominium. I assume you're probably even more familiar than I am, but McLean Manor is, if we're looking at this diagram, McLean Manor is going upwards from the development in question.
Yeah.
Their building is sort of furthest to the right, cut off at the top.
Yeah.
And that traffic triangle that people drive around,
You've got a- you got
their
the
other
marker.
building.
You have the device right under your hand, sir.
Oh. Right, thank you.
There, oops.
Okay. So McLean Manor is above the development. This is a triangle I was referring to. Their traffic comes in, makes a way around the triangle. Their parking is here. If folks come in and out. This is one of their buildings, and if we were to imagine, the other one is sort of, the buildings hug the traffic triangle, so that's where they are. They have some concerns. We're not here to formally oppose the project. They just have some concerns. We did have a meeting with Mr. Cayley, the applicant and developer. We believe that the meeting went well. We think that the stage has been set to work cooperatively. But by the same token, the association did feel that it was important to let this board know what its concerns were so that you can consider them as well, and as you deem appropriate, perhaps work them into your decision. With respect to the parking, it was originally thought by the applicant developer that there was a potential parking easement that would apply to part of the McLean Manor parcel, because as you heard from the engineer, the whole area was under common ownership at one point in time. I think that we have resolved that issue. We believe it is not the case that there's an easement for parking at this point on the McLean Manor parcel, and that is because in between when the group of parcels had cross easements in favor of each other for access and parking. There was a time when that was the case. The property was under common ownership. And then there's a recorded document where all of those parking and access rights come back to a single owner entity. That entity, at the time they were holding all the rights, sold off the parcel that is now McLean Manor. Thereafter, they reinstated cross easement rights for the remainder of the area for folks to come and go and be able to park on what I'll loosely call each other's property. As was mentioned, there's Margaritas and the bank and what Blue Ribbon is now. And so it was really just sort of an oddity of things that had happened in the past, that there was this transfer that occurred, cutting off the McLean Manor piece at a time when the cross easements were sort of suspended, if you will, because they were created, then they were released, then they were reinstated, but in the middle, McLean Manor came off to the side. And so for that reason, we don't believe that there's an easement for them to park at McLean Manor. It does not appear that that's what they're proposing to do, and so I don't see an immediate issue. Although parking is obviously a concern. If folks are familiar with the area, and as of today, I have now been myself, if folks are familiar with the area, it's fairly tight as you drive around. There are multiple businesses there in addition to the residential units at McLean Manor. What's being proposed is a mix. As you've heard, there will be some sort of commercial space as well as 14 residential units. We heard that the 14 residential spaces will meet the applicable regulations. Nothing we can do about that. But realistically, 14 units, unless the condominium documents limit each unit to one parking space. Realistically, chances are 14 residential units are going to result in more than 14 vehicles being at that property on a regular basis. Nowadays, even if only 2 people are living together in a unit, it's probably going to be 2 cars. So there are still parking concerns. For our purposes at McLean Manor, the concern is just to try to make sure that overflow parking doesn't end up at McLean Manor. Obviously, due to the proximity in the way the traffic flows and the fact that there is the sort of connection between the two here, it would be very easy rather, for people who are desperately searching for parking at the new development and unable to find it, to sort of make their way over to McLean Manor. And so we ask that you be mindful of that, be mindful of the parking, and to the extent possible, if the project is approved, have some form of condition that would prevent that future issue. Otherwise, we believe that really the stage is just being set for what will be a future problem. With respect to the construction of the project, again, assuming it's approved, there'll be a construction phase. The association has some concerns that I think are fairly straightforward and basic and reasonable. They are hoping that there would be measures like a temporary fence to enclose the construction zone. There's some concern both in terms of traffic, equipment, materials, and most importantly, sort of waste product and that sort of thing. It's not uncommon when construction is happening, all of a sudden flat car tires pop up, and lo and behold, there's an errant nail or screw. These sorts of things are what they have in mind, and the idea would be to hopefully try to prevent that. Other concerns, again, are that this is the residence for the folks who live at McLean Manor. It's their home, so they're hoping that, the hours will be reasonable, that the noise will be reasonable, that, the project isn't something that's going to completely disrupt their lives during the time that it's going on. Another concern that the association wants to bring to your attention would be for post-construction. Again, now we're assuming there's approval, assuming that the construction takes place and the new development exists. And the concern is just for lighting. And we did mention this to developer, and as with the other issues, we don't believe that there's going to be a problem. We think that their plans do account for this. But the residents of McLean Manor had some concern about the fact that the combined commercial residential property will likely have some lighting that's in use during the nighttime hours as well. And the idea is to make sure that it's not touching upon the McLean Manor buildings so as to disturb the residents of those buildings at nighttime. The last concern that's been expressed thus far, and that was discussed with, I would say, some degree of cooperation and success with the applicant, Mr. Cayley, is that what separates the McLean Manor condominium from what will be this new development or the existing blue cleaners is this area here, which is just sort of a natural little bit of a slump of a hill that just has some sort of natural grass on it now. It's, I think, a reasonable expectation that a new development with 14 new residences with some form of commercial space is probably going to increase the overall traffic on that blue ribbon parcel right now. And to the extent that that's happening, the association is hopeful that they can work with the developer to maybe ultimately construct some form of separation where the grass is between the two. It would just, result in a little bit more privacy, a little bit better traffic control, particularly foot traffic that could happen across the grass, might even help with some of the noise, et cetera. But ideally, it would just sort of separate what will probably be a busier and partly commercial parcel from the residences at McLean Manor. And there isn't anything in particular right now that is being discussed or requested with respect to that sort of partition, for lack of a better term. But it's something that McLean Manor is somewhat concerned about and wanted to bring to your attention, and something that we hope to be able to continue to work with the developer about, so that in the end, both sides are happy about whatever is in between the two.
Could I ask, so you said that you are currently talking with the developer? You're
Yeah, well,
ongoing?
Well, we had a meeting, we discussed these issues. It's been fairly quiet since, well, we had a bit more conversation and some exchange of documentation with respect to the parking. It's been relatively quiet lately, but I think both sides are open to continuing discussion. Some of these issues, like the construction measures and the lighting and the separation between the two parcels, it might not have been quite the time to try to get into the details on those, because obviously they depend on A, the project being approved, and then B, precisely what the developer's doing.
Okay.
We will have a review of the lighting and its limits to the level of lighting. And also we'll ask for hours of lights, any parking lot lights and things such as that. So that's within our realm of looking at anyway, yeah.
Thank
They have a
you.
lighting plan in there already. They already have a lighting plan in part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
The area that you're talking about, the partition, quote unquote, the partition on the north end,
Yeah.
that's on the McLean Manors property, is that correct? I'm just wondering how, we're not quite there doing landscaping, but I just wanted to make sure that I knew who that ridge belonged to.
Yes, I believe so. In fact, as I mentioned, it's a bit of a slope.
Yeah.
And apparently at one time, there was a set of stairs of some type installed there that would allow folks to sort of roam between the two parcels without going out to the street, and the stairs help deal with the difference in elevation. Mr. Cayley was originally willing during our meeting to put that staircase back. He assumed that the association wanted it. The association expressed their concerns that they'd rather not have it. They don't necessarily want the foot traffic to flow between the two, nor do they want the potential liability and upkeep, et cetera, people potentially falling. And Mr. Cayley agreed that if it wasn't something that the association wanted, that the staircase certainly didn't need to be there. And then I think they sort of loosely agreed that they would continue to talk about some form of partition being between the two. And like I said, I think the details of that will be a continuing discussion.
It seems like a possibility, and again, we're early in this process, but it seems like that might be an interesting place to have a vegetated buffer. If there were a line of trees there that would separate
Yeah.
the two properties and be visually appealing and offer some, it's just nice to have some green space in an area that is all parking right now. But
Yeah, I think it would be
just wasn't-
helpful. I was there today, and it really is sort of it's a tight, area. So when you're there, if not for that strip of grass, as you look around, you really do kind of feel more or less like it's one parcel or one area. And, Blue Ribbon, the existing dry cleaner appears to sort of, as you come into McLean Manor, it's like, oh, okay, Blue Ribbon's right there. And, to the extent that turns into a 50-foot tall, 14 residences building, it seems like some separation would probably be in order.
But what works best, we find, is that the parties get together and determine together what's going to be the best kind of thing, rather than have the board decide, well, we're not going to live there anyway, so put up a concrete wall, and that may probably be the last thing you would want. So if you can work something out that way, that's what works best from our experience. So I encourage you to continue that kind of conversation, yeah. Any other comments? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First, start off, I'm not an attorney. I am
Oh,
here.
well.
Yeah, I know, so everybody else is, but my name is Leanne Corning. I am the SVP of Client Experience at Bank Prov, and I am here representing our leadership team on behalf of this project. First, would like to note that we have conducted only a preliminary view of the project note and how it may impact the interests of the bank. We have had limited conversations with the project applicant, and those conversations really did not get into depth about any of the parking situation. We feel compelled to comment when we reviewed the meeting package for this evening and the REL comment. Current state, the traffic that Blue Ribbon does have for clients, the parking that is in front of Blue Ribbon is definitely sufficient. I know a comment was made earlier with regards to the parking spots out back and the potential use of them. Yes, they don't receive a lot of traffic back there currently. For the industry that we're in, we cannot have our employees park in the back there for security reasons. And from a client standpoint, they're not going to walk from the front of the building all the way to the back of the building to utilize those parking spots if they're coming into our location. So our concern would be for the amount of units as well as the potential other ideas for the property is that the parking spots that we have at the front of the building, we currently have 5 full-time employees that are on site daily, as well as there is a boardroom in that location in which we do have meetings that at some point between our on-site employees, any client meetings that we have, or employee meetings, does take up a majority of that lot that is right across from where that potential coffee shop would be. So our concern would be overflow, or yes, there would be those spots potentially proposed in the back, but the reality of coming from the front of the building to go all the way to the back, most likely people could be utilizing the spots in front, which would then cause us to have to manage that flow. We are not necessarily opposed to this project, but we do need more details to ensure that its interests are protected, our interests are protected, and that there's sufficient parking. So that's all we have. Thank you.
Question, are there any signs indicating that that parking is for the bank customers only? Any existing signage?
We do not have existing signage in those spots.
Thank you.
Yep.
But it looks like it's blocked off. I mean, it's got
Yeah.
curbing around it or something. It's right in front of the building. So,
Correct. Yes.
Is there anything in your, what do we call them, cross easements that would prohibit you from blocking, claiming that as your parking spot?
I would have to refer to our attorney. The answer to that question, I don't know.
I have a question.
Yes.
How does your snow removal work out?
So we have a gentleman that does our plowing and our landscaping. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So that he plows the front parking lot, the drive-through in between where the current Blue Ribbon site is. So our flow goes from the drive up in the back of the building, cuts around through in between the two buildings and then out. So he plows our spots out front, the drive-through, the in-between of the two Blue Ribbon and out back.
So there's no reason for anyone to be overnight parking in your bank parking lot?
Correct.
Thank you.
think it's highly likely we're gonna be doing a site walk. So some of the questions that we're talking about are gonna, I think, be addressed to a site walk. I'm gonna highly
Gonna have to have a
recommend
site
that we
walk,
do a
yeah.
site walk, but I'm familiar with the site. I'm a customer of the bank. It's not the easiest site to deal with in any way, shape, or form as a bank customer. Using their drive-through, I drive a 3/4 ton truck typically, and it's pretty tight right now going through the building. It has nothing to do with this application, frankly, but their access isn't great either. So I think we're dealing with a difficult parcel in general. If you aren't familiar with it, you're gonna see it pretty quickly that it's a little bit complicated, and there's a lot. If you even look at the plan, there's arrows going 7 different directions.
Yeah.
It's almost like a free-for-all. It's a pretty rough parking lot. Although the bank, you never had trouble, if you want to walk into the bank, you'll never have trouble getting a parking spot, because there's 2/3 of it at least has been empty every time I've gone in there. And their hours are fairly limited. I think you guys close at 4, maybe 5, and I think, are you open Saturday or not? Yeah. So, I mean, that sits a bit, but that's their property, so they can do with it and run it how they want. And there's a lot of ways to prevent unwanted people from parking on your property. So part of our job as a board is to make sure that we do what we can to ensure the issues that this development brings are handled and don't impact abutters dramatically. But we can't prevent someone from illegally parking on somebody else's property. That's beyond our purview, regardless. They could have 100 parking spots per person, they could still park in your lot. So we need to make sure that we feel it's adequate for the proposed use. And then other than that, it's trying to make it work together as abutters. I mean, I think you gotta also look at that as you might have 14 households that could be customers. You know, I mean, that does happen. You might actually have an employee now has a place to live in Exeter. So, I mean, that site has been pretty underdeveloped for a long time. It's good to see someone come in and want to do something with it. And I appreciate your concerns, because parking and the vehicular traffic that the increased use of the property creates will impact you. And probably more dramatically, I think, the abutting residential people. Even if they're not technically abutters, they're abutters. So I think the attorney that brought up the separation issue is probably a pretty good idea. If the existing residents don't really want to encourage commingling, then something like that should happen, but that is got to be mutually agreed between the parties. It generally does happen. And Gwen brought up a vegetative buffer, which is generally our preferred solution. And if it's off-site of the developed property, a lot of times the new use will put them in, and the existing people having an improvement on their property will handle maintenance going forward. That's not unusual, so I just thought I'd address that at this point.
I do agree we need a walk. I've walked this. I
Yeah.
haven't been there to kind of get a feel for the back of the building.
Right.
And the parking area.
I got a question for Christian. Knowing where the current dry cleaning building exists and knowing it's a narrow space, is the new building going to be at the same position, or is it going to be set back?
Identically on the same footprint.
Okay,
That was our discussion with the zoning board of adjustment.
okay.
Yep. Yep. And I can address, well, actually, I guess we should check if there are more butters before I address.
I have a couple more things for public first.
Yes.
Oh, certainly.
My name is Michael Siegel. I'm on the board of McLean Condominiums.
I'm not an attorney either. But,
Make it sound like a bad thing.
We're the ones not getting paid right now.
right. The regular folk talk a little different than the attorney
First of all, I
folk.
want to let you know, we were blindsided probably about 2 months ago when all of a sudden, all the condos ended up getting notices put on their, on the deeds. We had no idea that there were, that there was, problems or with the affluent coming from the cleaners. So once we got that, we weren't sure whether the property was polluted or not. So we were advised we hired a environmental attorney to go through. We've had them look through everything. And it looks like that originally these wells were put in probably 50 years ago, 50, 60 years ago. And I guess it was something that was put in between the McLeans and the original owner of of the properties. And we were supposed to be notified. The state evidently really messed up. We were supposed to be getting notifications every 5 years when they did their testing, but we never got anything. This was the first one we got, was in 2024. And we've had, the attorneys we hired went back and checked with, and with the state as well as I did. I talked with them myself, the environmental people there. And the concern we have right now is that when the building is picked up, okay, what is underneath there? Okay, is it going to cause more contamination on the McLean property? I mean, that's one of our concerns. I guess they addressed that there will be somebody there, I guess, checking, but we want to make sure that, and the state has now been told that we expect them to be doing their job. We had our attorneys tell them that. And so we want to be absolutely notified if there's any problem. We don't want to be, this was really totally blindsided. All of a sudden, these things showed up. We had no idea what they were.
It's terrible. It happens, unfortunately, right? It's good that you have an advocate.
Yeah, we were supposed to get notified before they put them on anyway.
Yeah.
There was no notification. So I personally spoke to the parties that put them on and also the state. So I know what happened. But right now, our main concern is that when the building comes up, being the cleaners, the perchlorethylene, I don't know what is, we have no idea what's underneath that slab. So I just want to bring that to your attention. And of course, behind McLean is the backup reservoir. So that's something you certainly want to be thinking about.
Yeah, of the town,
And-
definitely.
Yeah, because the town should be involved in this
Yeah.
as well. So that's what I want to bring to your attention. Other than that, we hopefully can work everything out. I'm a little concerned about the parking myself. We know that we have one bedrooms there, and there definitely are two cars per one, per bedroom. Yeah, per unit, I mean, yeah. Yeah, so I think 14, I can't see how it'll work, but we'll let you guys work it out. All right, that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Can I ask a quick
We-
question, sir?
Yes.
This is kind of probably a stupid question, but I'm assuming that all the contamination is a result of the dry cleaner?
Yes,
This is-
it was
this
coming
all
from
happened
yes, it
subsequent
came
to
from the
that?
dry cleaners, right.
Okay.
I think
Right.
they said there was a spill in the 70s.
It's,
Something
well,
happened
it's from what I've been told by both the state and the attorneys we hired, it's almost nil now. There really isn't much at all. But when we should have been notified was 5 years ago, when they had a problem. They thought there might have been some vapors involved. And of course, the state never did anything. So unfortunately, what are you going to do?
Sorry about that.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So,
The other quick question, do you have issues now with parking? Do you see people?
we have had to tow some people, yes, that are illegally parked there, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And your parking lot is
Yes, they
pretty
park on,
full?
well, the each unit has a designated parking spot.
Oh, oh.
It's well marked, and then the rest of it has parking for McLean, residents, and then the other one is for visitors.
So it's well-signed? It's-
Oh, yes,
like
yes,
people
absolutely.
know where they should
But
or
we still,
shouldn't be.
like you said, we've had some errant parking, people parking there. We've had a couple stolen cars that were put in there, and people
That's
just left the
exciting.
car there, yeah, right. But, so we've had to have, we've towed them, we've had them towed, unfortunately, yeah.
All right,
But it is kind of tight, it's very tight, there's no question about it.
good to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Anyone else like to speak first? Okay, Kristen, go ahead, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I'll address a couple of the comments from Mr. Siegel, just so the board has a better idea, because again, as I mentioned, the client and the developer for the proposal has been in close contact with DES, because obviously you find monitoring wells on properties. And Mr. Siegel was absolutely correct. Those wells were put in years ago because of a spill. And it seems that all of the wells, and there are, I believe, I'm sorry, I went the wrong direction.
Wrong question.
This is really counterintuitive. Why am I going backwards?
Because you're pushing the wrong button.
You're at the end.
Evidently.
Yeah.
And
Then we've got the engineers. you see.
now it can't.
The attorneys, the
Here we
public,
go.
the engineers.
All right, there are two buttons. See, you're confusing me. There we go. So there were 3 wells located. There's another one further off the page.
wow, they're all
And then one located here. And if you look at the reports and the mapping that's been done specific to groundwater flow, for whatever reason, and I'm not a hydrogeologist, so I'm not going to opine as to why that is, but essentially the high point of the groundwater around these properties is up in this direction, and flow is in that direction, which is why they scheduled the wells the way they did. Yeah, it appears that there was a big lapse in testing by the state, because what I was able to pull off the DES website shows testing in 2016 and then not another one until, as Mr. Siegel pointed out, March of 2024. At which point, virtually all the chemicals that they're testing for, and I mean, these are all, what they were looking for are all chemicals which are associated with solvents and cleaning products. Makes sense, because that's what the spill came from the dry cleaners. All but one well, I believe, is showing everything at less than detectable or acceptable limits. And so trichloroethylene was one of the compounds in question, which was at a 7 micrograms per liter, and the allowable background concentration of that in groundwater, according to the EPA and the DES, is 5, so it was only 2 micrograms per liter higher than what is allowed. And then the other piece is 1,4-dioxane. That is essentially an ether, and you can find it in baby shampoo. So again, probably cleaning products that spilled back in the 70s. But, as Mr. Siegel pointed out, virtually all of these wells are showing either non-detectable or acceptable and allowed limits of everything that they've been testing for since the 70s. And what Mr. Cayley's been told is that once they start getting, and I think it's either 2 or 4 consistent samplings and readings that are below the allowed limit, they will then be able to decommission all of those wells, should they choose to do so. And as I mentioned in my initial presentation, Jeff will be working with the company that's actually doing the monitoring and the testing for DES, as well as DES, as to how to handle those wells during the construction process. And to reassure Mr. Siegel, we are, without question, going to be doing some soil sampling, though none of these contaminants are typically clinging to mineral material. They dissolve and run into the water, particularly over that length of time. But anyway, that will be done. And then I wanted to just touch base very quickly on the separation. You can see there is a proposed sidewalk that basically just connects these two pervious paver patios. And on the manor side of that is already proposed from the corner of the building all the way out to this point, it's going to be a decorative retaining wall, so to speak, but it will be elevated on both sides. And I think we have to give it a 30-inch reveal for pedestrian traffic next to it. That is the safe height that people aren't going to tend to trip over it and fall down the little slope. But to comment on one of Gwen's suggestions, we'll check it out in the field, but I do not think you want to be planting trees on that slope, because once they get big enough and heavy enough and we get a good wind, somebody's car is going to get munched. But we can look at that in the field. I just wanted to touch on that. And I certainly think that Mr. Cayley has been and will continue to be willing and available to work with all of the neighbors in question and address concerns specific to post-development lighting. You can see we had Sharon, who is a professional lighting engineering contractor, do our lighting plan, and there will be no lights because the town of Exeter, as I know you all know, but for the residents and property owners that are here, or property owners' representatives, require dark sky compliant lighting, and you cannot have lumens over zero beyond the property line, and I'm absolutely certain that's what Sharon has produced, because they know the town and they've done a ton of work for myself and other civils in the area. I believe that's all I had to touch on.
Thank you. I have a letter here to add to the testimony from Todd Fahey, who is with Upton and Hatfield on behalf of your bank. RE Planning Board case number 25-3. Can't hear me? How's this microphone working?
Wrong mic.
Yeah.
See, the big guys, okay. Planning Board case number 25-3, 97 Portsmouth Avenue, Exeter, New Hampshire. Dear Chair Plummer and honorable members of the Planning Board, honorable members, you guys have just gotten promoted. This firm represents Bank Prov, the bank, and we have conducted preliminary review of the project noted above, and how it may impact bank interests. As the Attorney Hilston notes in his letter of July 9th, the impact of this project will negatively impact his client and the bank. From what we know, the project has inadequate parking. As this board knows, the applicant seeks to redevelop a commercial property into a much more parking-intensive mixed-use development and to provide for, as far as we can currently ascertain, parking for the project to the determinant of the abutters, notably the bank. In reference to Attorney Hilston's letter to you today stating his client's REAL Common LCC, quote, REL, objections to the above referred site plan currently being proposed, the bank shares the concerns expressed by REL, therein maintains that the extent to the bank's interest are aligned with those of REL. The parking for the project is inadequate. The bank has not consented and does not consent to the expansive parking rights used of its property that the applicant has offered to this board. The applicant plans seem to well exceed the parcel's ability to support the parking needed to accommodate its redevelopment vision. Furthermore, to the extent that the project anticipates depriving the bank of use of its reciprocal parking rights in the subject parcel, that also provides another basis for the bank's objection, which is now now respectfully asserts. At this moment, the due in time and submission constraints, we want to voice our objections to this project. We reserve all rights to submit additional comments or testimony at public hearing tomorrow and thereafter. And very truly yours, Todd B. Fahey of the Upton Hatfield Attorneys at Law. Thank you. Just so I have that part of the record, and we've heard from the bank as well. Any other comments from the public at this time? Then I think we ought to talk about a site walk and a tabling. This will be, case will be tabled to August 23rd?
I think it's the 8th.
28.
Yeah.
28th. The reason for that being, we do not have a second meeting in July. Our first meeting in August is the capital improvement project. And if you're interested in what causes all the taxes in town, be sure to come to that meeting. That then is, that takes the whole first meeting in August. The second one is this one on the 28th. And where we will finish up with the CIP plan, then we will come back to this particular project. So my thinking is we might do a sidewalk closer to the next meeting, but whatever is in the best interest of the board. Aaron has
Mr. Chairman, if I may ask a question? And you may feel that you're not interested in doing this. I was just curious because the two waivers, well, one is unavoidable because the existing building footprint is closer than 5 feet to a property line. The second waiver is for the sidewalk we're proposing, which the MUND requires them to be 8 feet in width. So it is just for this section that connects down to Portsmouth Avenue. And Portsmouth Avenue sidewalk is actually 5 feet in width. And when you go to the sidewalk, now I know obviously the MUND trumps this, but the standard width in town is 5 feet. So those are the two waivers we're looking for. Would love it if you felt comfortable on reviewing and voting on those tonight. But, you know, if you prefer to do the site walk first, I've got no issue with that either.
Yeah. I'd prefer the site walk, only because my understanding of this packet is that our department heads have not weighed in on things, and DPW, I would really like...
Haven't heard anything yet.
Right,
Yes.
so I really would like to hear
Yeah,
from
yeah.
DPW, fire department,
Yeah.
on...
And typically, we do all those kinds of approvals when we,
That's fine.
yep.
Yeah.
that's
I just thought I'd ask the
it.
question.
Respect your request and say no.
Well, that's hurtful.
So you had your calendar out there, and
Yeah, I did.
thought you'd have a date
I
already.
think the suggestion of doing close to the next meeting is good. However, I think if we have any issues that come out of the walk, we don't give him that time to
Next
prepare.
time, okay.
So
So
you gotta
they
kind of
halfway through.
balance that. And when we do have the extra time between the meetings, I think in fairness to the applicant, they're gonna be on hold for 6+ weeks here. We might as well let them try to have all their ducks in a row next time we see them at a formal meeting.
Yeah, good.
So I would counter that by saying, let's try to get it done.
You're a good thinker.
Well, just give them time to do their job, right?
No,
As long as it's not next week,
Okay.
I am available.
All right.
Early August.
Early August.
Yeah, early August, any day but Thursday.
Any day but Thursday. Early August.
Middle August,
Wednesdays for...
Middle August is better.
middle August, week of the 11th.
Week of the 11th, not a Thursday. We usually do it in the morning.
Yeah, right.
Yes,
Is that
please.
going to be early enough?
Will
in-
the coffee
in your
shop be
schedule?
open?
Yep.
Negative.
13th, August 13th.
Works for me.
It's a Wednesday.
Jeff, you good with August 13th?
Yeah,
Yep,
8 o'clock.
8 a.m.
you got it.
We don't have a meeting on
The bank could answer no.
So, for members of the public, we're gonna do a site walk, August 13th at 8 a.m. You are welcome to attend that. You don't have to, but you're welcome to be there.
It is a public meeting.
It's a public meeting. We won't be doing anything like this,
No
but
decision made. but-
it will be a review of the site. It'll be on the town website too, but I don't think you'll get noticed. You have to keep track of that. I don't, August 13th, it's a Wednesday at 8 AM.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Lucky 13.
And we're gonna park at the Manor. No, just kidding.
We take care of that.
Bank problem, park at the bank.
Trying to get us linked.
Which one's yours? Which one's yours? Never, what unit are you?
You're a member of the bank there.
19, 28, 33.
Yep.
All right.
I'm a winner.
Oh, what?
All right, so that'll be,
Is there anything we want pointed out or lined out or marked for this? I mean, I can,
Well, with the existing structure out there and the existing edge of pavement, I'm going to be able to point out
Yeah.
whatever you're looking for.
pretty developed.
Yeah, I mean, the building is going to be on the exact same footprint
Right.
as where it is now, so that's going to be clear. But with regard to the, where the coffee shop is proposed, I'll be able to get you within a foot of all of the other
yeah,
features.
something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
part of the challenge I have with the MUND waiver is that under the MUND, applications are given relief from zoning issues. So you're gonna have to convince me why we need to shrink the.
I will certainly
It's not gonna
do
be
my
easy
best.
convincing.
If you want an extra 3 feet of
Well, it just-
sidewalk out there, we'll put it in. I mean, it's
All right,
that
well,
simple.
Sounds like we get rid of that waiver.
Oh, no, I'm still going to argue for it. Yeah, you don't get off that easy.
But as you know, the 5-foot
I
boundary
absolutely
one
understand.
is, I mean, you could find 1,000 examples of us granting that one, because
Well,
I don't
and
know why we even
like I
still
say, with this one, where the part of our, request for the zoning board was because the existing building
Right.
encroaches into those setbacks.
Right.
We are absolutely hamstrung if we can't do that.
Of course. And that's pretty typical.
Yes.
I
Yes.
haven't figured out why that's in our zoning requirements yet. I think it's just to make us pay attention to it, I guess.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
seems
I
like
think
we
it would make
granted almost
sense.
every application.
I think it would make a lot of sense, commercial adjacent to an abutting
Yes.
residential.
Right.
But, yeah, I'm not certain.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I think that's a leftover from Ms. Alug.
Probably is, yeah. It's one of the ones where we review our zoning ordinance.
All right.
John?
Would one of you
Still with me?
gentlemen like to make a motion to
Hey, John.
table as a certain date certain down there? Sam?
I will move to table.
Oh, okay. The other time.
Am I okay?
Yes.
Go right
Okay.
ahead.
I move that the application of J. Cayley Associates Planning Board Case Number 25-3 be tabled until August 28th, 2025 at 7 PM in the Novak Room.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Those, voice votes okay? Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? The ayes have it. And we're all set on the sidewalk. That will be posted.
Yes.
Thanks very much for your time, as always, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Thank you for coming in.
Now, what else we got here? I don't see we have anything other business tonight. Thank you.
No coffee for me.
We're still in a meeting.
Did we ever approve the June 12th meeting minutes? Didn't we hold off on approving those? We did.
Yeah.
I did not bring them.
Oh, okay. So it still needs to be done.
Do you have your June 12th meeting minutes?
Just want to be careful of that
I
stuff.
don't think I
I
have
was gonna
anything
recuse anyway.
Huh?
I'm recusing.
strong on.
Yeah, not much. What's up?
Yes, please.
Oh, no, yeah, get him out of here.
Yeah, please.
Rein him in, baby.
It's hard to hear. Yeah, I don't have those
Enjoy the
meeting
wedding.
minutes, but I'm recusing, so if you guys wanna,
Give our
I recuse from the meeting, so I'm gonna recuse from the minutes.
I don't have mine with me. I almost think I didn't have any corrections on it.
What's that?
I don't have those meeting minutes with me, but
I
I
don't
don't think
either,
I
no.
had any corrections.
Well,
think
I
they
want to
were-
make sure that
We have to be careful.
Yeah,
Short
I
meeting,
know.
most of our meetings.
It had all the.
it has the approval, all the conditions of the
I was thinking
approval.
you should get that straight.
And I want to
Yeah.
make sure they agree with the letter
Yeah.
that was sent out,
Okay.
because that was our one and only chance. They're not gonna come back. They promised. Okay, I don't see any master plan discussion.
All right,
land
so
use
there is
regulations.
actually,
There is, oh.
ease up. So, we, three of us here right now, we're on this committee, right? I think we are the committee.
Yeah, it's early enough, we could go right into that.
Our fearless leader is on leave right now.
Right.
So, he would generally call the meetings.
Right.
So we may have to get a little more assertive in that. Did you guys get an email from Kristen Murphy at all
Not about that.
about the master plan oversight committee?
Not-
Okay, I did.
I mean, recently? you
Yes,
saying, or a month
recently,
ago, or-
about a week and a half ago. She was asking
That's a lot
about
of emails.
scheduling, getting on our schedule, and I said, well, Dave's one that schedules for us, and he's not doing it, so I said, if you have something, let us know. So we may need to meet just to get our own agenda going a little bit internally. So I just wanted to put you guys on notice of that, so.
Anytime.
Thursday mornings.
Would you ask her
Figure that out.
Would you ask her to add these other gentlemen to get in that conversation?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think we can do that though, on our independent, but yeah, I will.
You have, yeah, you just post it.
Yeah.
24-hour notice.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they'll handle the website part, so we just had to figure out, we probably should meet is my point. Between now
Talk
and
about what,
What we're gonna do.
end of October. Cause usually it's, the bike thing was the big thing that we dealt with for a
but
long
where
time.
is that?
That's where I think we have to decide, okay, somebody needs to reach out to the Rockingham Planning Commission and see what's going on with it.
Is he gonna do one other thing for us or something? It's been so long since we had that meeting.
I know, he was, yes, he
Yeah.
was. He was supposed to do another,
Fix a few things
Yes.
inside that.
If we get together and talk, I'm willing to take a more
Active,
active role
okay.
in dealing with the planning commission and talking
great,
with them and so.
that would be great. I think we just should do that, cause it's a pretty important committee, actually. A lot of times, stuff that's gonna impact zoning kind of runs through us initially. And we're trying to keep that master plan active and alive, and we've done that, so I don't wanna see that fall apart.
No.
Right. Well, it's gonna be on the CIP coming up pretty soon to update it, so.
Right.
Yes.
Is
That
that
makes
definite?
sense.
Yes, it's really important. So just as long as you give the Pam 24-hour notice so she can post it,
Right.
and then someone take the meeting minutes. If this is the initial one without Kristen.
We never.
Organize, I want to see you have
We
officers,
don't take minutes.
chair, a recorder.
Dave takes minutes, and he says we met, that's what his minutes are.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it has to say who's there,
Yeah.
if you make a motion, who makes the
Literally.
motion, who seconds it, and just,
Yeah.
we discuss the master
Just
plan
thanks, man.
like that. Yeah, it, very
We
brief.
don't want the old fashioned of who attended, who had coffee, and which one had cream with it.
Wow.
That's all I needed
And
line
what we
on
really
that.
talked about.
That's all I needed on
Yeah.
that. So,
Okay,
that
keep
was
us
it.
posted.
Yeah.
Land use regulation review, field modifications,
Who's doing
bond
it?
letters, I think they got the bond letters pretty all squared away. Anything else for the good of the order?
I would just say on the site walk, we didn't determine where we're parking, all kidding aside. I
Yeah.
tend to be a jokester, just to lighten things up
Oh, you have
sometimes,
to
but
be.
we do need to figure out where we're parking, so I assume we're gonna park at the subject property.
Well,
There is
I'm-
enough space there.
I'm gonna park in front of Margarita's, because they're not open at 8 AM in the
They're
morning.
not. They're not.
So I'm not taking away from their business for a half hour.
No,
You
you are
have
not.
a margarita in your hand.
No, not me.
I don't think we have a problem.
Unfortunately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of
There's-
parking.
Yeah, isn't there plenty of parking spaces at
Yeah,
that time in the morning?
that-
Oh, this,
There is.
I
But I
Yeah.
think if we all park at the manor, we could really stir the pot.
Yeah, I'm not a pot star, so no
It's
thank you.
happening already!
okay.
Doesn't the manor have like a beauty shop in the basement or
In
something?
the
Yes,
front.
they have-
Yeah.
Something
They
like
have
that,
two
yeah.
businesses there, yeah.
They do.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, that probably pays the taxes.
It's actually, I mean, we shouldn't talk too much in that case right now, so.
Okay,
You want a motion to adjourn?
that's what I'm looking for.
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay, that's good enough for me. We stand adjourned. Thank you very much.
Okay.
We don't have another meeting in this month, so
My goodness.
I did
Smile.
not know that. How did I not know that?
What?
We don't
Tradition,
have a
that's
second
not-
meeting in July.
the chair's decision.
Is that a
It's
normal
tradition.
every year? Okay. I got to update my
We're not in an
calendar.
official hearing, so the
Okay.
parking is.
Thank you for tuning in to Exeter TV. Exeter TV is the town's public and government access channels, available on Comcast channels 6 and 22. Channel 6 is your channel. If you have an idea for a program, want to host your own talk show, or submit a film, we're here to get your content on television. On Channel 22, we bring you live and replay coverage of government meetings and other town updates. A third channel, Blue Hawk Media, is operated by SAU 16 and can be found on Channel 8, with all your school sports, events, and meetings. You can watch Exeter TV online at exeternh.tv, Apple TV, and on Roku. Find us on social media for extra content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell to get notified about live streams and new content. Tune in to our platforms every other Friday to watch the Exeter Biweekly Report, with recaps of recent events, updates from town departments, and messages from nonprofits in your area. If you head to our website, exeternh.tv, we invite you to sign up to our newsletter to receive monthly updates about new content, upcoming meetings, and more. We'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch Exeter TV and hope that you tune in to our other content as well.